Yes.
Yes, I would love this.
Just one moment. We're just coming back right now, and we have a couple of guests who've joined us as well. America and Narayan joining us out of Chennai. Good evening and welcome. And to do another round of introductions, we have Rajesh, Padsha Sen, Bharat Kumar Raut, Vinay Tiwari, and Vivek Kaul all in the studio with me, and we'll have other guests join us. But Shikha Mukherjee joining us out of Calcutta. We have Kurban Ali joining us out of Delhi. Let me just put this on the screen. West Bengal and Orissa. Now, these were the big states that could, that the BJP was trying to make inroads in. This was part of the Look East plan. If we look first at West Bengal, now a total of 42 seats, it's a big state, it's an important state. Look at the BJP tally of 11 out of 42 seats. That's a big chunk. There are some other polls we understand that are giving the BJP even more than 11 out of 42 in West Bengal. If you would also just put out the Orissa tally on the exit polls, and I just want our audience to take a look at the Orissa tally. There it is. The 12 for the BJP in Orissa, 8 for Naveen Patnaik. That would be a shock as well. Also, in the previous slide for West Bengal, you'll see the left actually had only 1 out of that total tally. There it is. And that's perhaps also the same conversation we were having about the Aam Aadmi Party. Here is a party that's losing relevance drastically. Shikha Mukherjee joins us out of Calcutta. Shikha, good evening. Thank you for joining us. This tally right now of the Trinamool Congress having 28 seats and the BJP having 11. Is this perhaps a calculation that nobody else saw happening on the ground?
Well, it was a fringe lot of people who had this idea that the BJP would get double-digit seats. But what it does indicate is that there has been a substantial shift of votes towards the BJP, and certainly away from the Trinamool, making the BJP today the effective challenger in West Bengal, the out ahead in front of all the others, which is the left and the Congress. It also does something else. It also sort of suggests that there has been an anti-incumbency sentiment in West Bengal vis-a-vis the Trinamool Congress, as well as Mamata Banerjee and Mamata Banerjee's style of governance. And this seems to have sort of exploded in the way in which the voting has happened in West Bengal. In other words, this replicates effectively what happened between 2006 and 2011 in West Bengal, when the CPM began suffering loss after loss after loss. And the fact that Mamata Banerjee has lost 6 seats by this estimate is an indication that the anti-incumbency factor has kicked in very hard. And I don't know whether this means that Mamata Banerjee can recover her losses, but it certainly is a very hard blow to her. The other thing it would suggest also is that there has been the West Bengal, no matter what Mamata Banerjee said, no matter what the alliances were happening elsewhere across the country, there was no way in which in West Bengal there wouldn't be anything other than a 4-way fight. Clearly, this 4-way fight has helped the BJP pick up more seats than it would have otherwise. If there had, for instance, been what the Congress and the left have discussed, but it didn't eventually transpire, exactly the same as in Delhi, when that would have probably kept the BJP numbers down, but that hasn't worked out, nor was there any possibility of the Trinamool and the Congress working together, which would have also
in fact, Bachasan, do you agree that that's possibly what's happening with
Yes, the
Bengal
multi-contests which are taking place, that has definitely affected these figures. Except if there is a certain amount, I wouldn't say a groundswell, if there's a certain swell, let's put it that way, again of anti-incumbency, then that anti-incumbency has been
Is Mamata Banerjee losing touch with the ground?
No, I don't think she's losing touch with the ground. I think she's just basically, my basic point is that in dividing the anti-incumbency votes, it's probably given BJP a chance also extra, because what's happening now is what's happening now is that the multi-cornered contests which have taken place, there would have been the left. The left took a certain chunk of votes, some of which would probably have transferred to the Trinamool, which is what Shikha is suggesting. Congress also, some of which might have gone also to Trinamool, because there would be more than the anti-incumbency that she's talking about. And see, there is an anti-BJP vote which has got split.
Yes, Vinay?
Well, look, yes, although I must say this, I mean, I think it's specifically for Bengal maybe, but also for national election, I must say one thing fairly upfront, at least in my head. Traditionally, the leading party, or the perceptually leading party, tends to get slightly overstated in exit polls. That has been a general pattern. I'm not saying dramatically, I'm not saying the way the Congress is saying that they're all wrong and rubbish.
A leading party state-wise or leading party nationally?
Yeah, so nationally the perception of the leading party tends to get slightly overstated. I mean, if you see the way past exit polls have come, it's not that they've got it wrong, but they've slightly overstated the extent of that. And I suspect that that could be possibly also the reason why you have some polls which are going to the extent of saying that the West Bengal BJP may get 24 seats. Which frankly, I don't see that happening at all. I mean, I'll be very, very, very surprised if BJP comes back with 24 seats in West Bengal. I'll be very surprised.
What seems to have happened here, or could have happened here, is basically the Muslim vote got split. There's a substantial,
because if it has stayed intact, there's no reason why Mamata would do that badly.
Yes. I just want to quickly ask you about one more state, and then I'll bring in, I want to go back to looking at the entire national picture with all of our guests. And the state that we haven't discussed so far, and we started at 6:30 this evening, is Odisha. Mr. Raut, there's a shock here for Naveen Babu.
Yeah.
Maybe a shock that none of us saw coming.
No, we didn't see this.
Naveen Babu must have been shocked by looking at these results as much as I am surprised. Yes, it is reduced to 8.
Yes.
Which is quite surprising. And BJP has made major inroads in this state. But it will have large impact on the assembly also.
Yes, that was going to be my next question. What impact will this have, Vivek, on the assembly elections?
I mean, if the people have voted similarly in both the elections, then this suggests he's going to lose.
But this suggests that Dharmendra Pradhan might be the new chief minister of Odisha.
But then, I mean, it doesn't happen like that. So, I guess it would be pretty close.
It would be close.
Predicting something for Naveen Patnaik, losing the assembly will be a way bigger shock.
Yes.
I think he'll still be okay losing 4 or 5 Lok Sabha seats.
But if you're going to be consistent with our analysis, which says that, okay, the Congress won in Rajasthan Assembly, Congress won in Madhya Pradesh Assembly, Congress did very well in Gujarat Assembly, and yet this is this thing. So then in which case we come to the conclusion that people are probably beginning to vote differently for assembly and
but again, there's an argument there, and it has been proven that people tend to vote similarly when they're doing it at the same time. Simultaneous during a simultaneous election. But if it's 3 months apart, 2 months apart, then you have enough time to rethink it and re-strategize. So there might not be that much of a difference here.
No, I mean, we haven't put the data up, but look, for me, if the BJD has been reduced to 8 and the BJP is getting 12, I think the real story will be the dramatic rise in the vote share. Please remember, it's a bipolar state.
Yeah, there is a rise.
There will be phenomenal vote share.
There is a rise in the vote share.
There is, okay. Yes. So, I mean, that would be where the real story is, because you see, in a bipolar, the reason why we said Rajasthan and MP are close elections is because the vote share gap between Congress and BJP was 0.5%.
Yes.
Or 1%. Yes. That obviously is not enough for a clear victory. But in Odisha, the vote share difference would have been pretty huge before this election. And for the BJP to recoup all of that, and then...
Well, the BJP and the BJD vote share, according to this poll, is 42%.
42%.
And 33% for the BJD. So,
that's a sharp... See, 20.4% increase. 20% jump in one.
This is
that's massive. Yes. That's massive.
What I was trying to say is that the Congress is totally marginalized in Odisha.
It's not there.
Finished. Therefore, it is actually a straight fight.
Absolutely.
Yes.
And so the advantage goes to the BJP.
Yes.
And not to Biju.
In fact, let me bring in Mr. Narayan. Mr. America Narayan joins us out of Chennai. Mr. Narayan, on that note, and not just specific to do with Orissa, let's just look at the total picture. If we just pop the poll of polls on screen again, please, if I may. It does look, and you know, Vivek was telling us, if you leave the outliers out and you look at everybody else, most of the polls seem to be in general agreement that the UPA, which is the Congress and all of its allies, will be at around 228, 227 to 232. This would mean a complete, I mean, this would actually bring into question the future of the Congress and its ability to actually mount a fight against the BJP.
Well, there are two things you need to think about. And I think even at the expense of being redundant, we should understand it exit polls, and a significant portion of the exit polls in the past had not gotten it right, number one. Even in Australia, very recently it has happened. Number two, looking at a reasonability from where I can see today. Now, in Tamil Nadu, I can say that the polls show that ADMK plus BJP getting hello. The
Yes, go ahead.
BJP and ADMK getting significantly more seats than anybody else could. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Hello. I think I have lost them. They'll call.
All right. We can hear him, but I don't think he can hear us. That line must have gotten disconnected, but we'll go back to him. Vivek, and we have a couple of questions that are popping up on, on our communication portal with our viewers. But basically, they're saying, let's wait until counting is done. Exit polls are not authentic. We don't understand if this is true. We should believe it. We should not believe it. So there's a lot of that questioning. So if you just go over the calculation one more time, and now we have all of the polls on that one chart. Yeah. Do you believe, is this reason enough to believe that the BJP and its allies will form the government?
Yeah, I mean, even if you sort of discount, 10 to 15% of it, I mean, BJP and its allies plus, one or two big parties should push them through. Yeah.
And it's very interesting because when we had the spokesperson of the TDP who represents Chandrababu Naidu,
and he said,
we have no problem with the BJP. Yeah. So obviously, now at this point, looking at these numbers, a lot of the fence sitters will start to lean towards the BJP. So, and we'll be open to those conversations.
Once BJP crosses 250 mark, India crosses 250 mark,
it becomes easy.
Then getting those 25, 22, 23 extra seats, it is not a problem because in this house, I can see that 104 seats have been projected to others.
Yes.
And those parties are basically regional parties. So it is very easy to net them and get the required number. I don't think we'll have that type of situation in any case on 23rd. But should it be, then BJP and NDA plus have every.
In which case, to play the devil's advocate, in which case we need to rethink how much of a damage control Mr. Modi has actually done. Because if you're going to need BJP plus more,
yes,
then the damage control hasn't quite been as effective as we had thought it might be. In the sense that Chandrababu Naidu might come knocking on the door or KCR. So because for instance, we know for a fact that in the south,
yes,
barring Karnataka, in the south, all the other southern states, nothing much was done through the personality of Mr. Narendra Modi.
All right, so I have to ask this question, and this question's been brewing since this evening, since we saw these numbers. Do you all believe, and the rest of the panel who are with us as well, Malvika Avinash joins us from the BJP, do you believe that Rahul Gandhi has failed?
Unquestionably. I mean, I think unquestionably. If you give, look, the fairness, the assessment has to be fair.
Yes.
If there is an individual who gets credit for doing well in a particular election, then another person who's not done so well should also get the flak for it.
Yes.
My problem is...
Also, because let me point out that when they won Rajasthan, Chhattisgarh and Madhya Pradesh, for whatever reason and for whatever, all the members of the Congress gave credit to Rahul Gandhi
Yes,
openly at
precisely.
that time,
So-
which means he should also then take
Absolutely.
responsibility.
So all
Yes.
those 3 state victories were attributed to Mr. Gandhi. So
Yes.
by that same yardstick, if he doesn't do well, he should also get the blame for it. Look, I'll tell you my real surprise at this party. It's the grand old party of India. But I'm amazed that a party who in the last election came back with 44 seats has initially for the first 2 years or so remained fairly comatose and didn't do much about
Yes.
it. And then in the last year, suddenly, because of the assembly verdict, became engulfed with a sense of hubris. And that is not the way to
Yes,
do politics.
yes, yes.
They had already started talking about, they started leaking those statements being made about prime ministership and God knows, on all kinds of things. There is a sense of hubris the party suffers from and they haven't gotten out of it. And I think they need to understand the importance of sometimes learning foxtrot. Sometimes you've got to take 2 steps forward and 1 back as well. You can't always assume that you're the king and the leader and everyone has to revolve
And
around you.
the general complaints that still came up of members of the party in the Congress not having access to leadership, not getting meetings with Rahul Gandhi, not being able to get clear communication.
And their inability to groom state level leaders. The one state where they've done well is the state where they have a state level leader, which is Punjab. Everywhere else, wherever they have failed to groom anyone at the state level, the party doesn't.
And I
do it.
might remind you, Vinay, when they went for the state assembly elections, Amrinder actually threatened the central.
Oh,
leadership.
Yes, and said, don't
He
come
said,
here.
don't come here or
Yes.
I'm out.
Yes.
So he's obviously right. He knows something.
He's
So that was
even in this poll,
Amrinder
they
Singh's
haven't gone.
victory, and not Congress
Even in this
victory.
poll, they haven't gone there.
They
It's
haven't.
Amrinder who's campaigned there.
Yes. Yes.
And when Punjab voted, the BJP brought up a lot of things. For example, they exhumed Rajiv Gandhi
Yes.
and brought him to life and questioned everything about him right during the Punjab polls. Hasn't seemed to have made too much
No,
of a
not at
difference,
all.
though. It,
So in other words, you see, if you have a chief minister who doesn't come and touch your feet, he's a far more effective chief minister than those who do.
yes, and that was a photograph that Mr. Raut was showing us of.
I got a picture on my social media.
When Mr. Rahul showed me the picture, I asked him 4 times, is this picture real? I couldn't believe.
Yeah.
I think he's what, 71?
78.
He's 78. A 78-year-old chief minister of a state is touching the feet of a
Yes.
49-year-old.
party president. It's shocking. I mean, this is...
Well, let's just.
What
please.
has happened? I'm going back to my cricket analogy.
Nobody will stop you here.
Because Rahul Gandhi, after the 3 state victory, had gone on so much on forward.
Front foot.
Yes.
Front foot. That now he has no return. He cannot go on back foot and save his
Stepped
wicket.
out of his crease,
And
did
he
he?
went front foot on short pitch delivery.
Short
This is the worst thing you can
and
do.
he has crossed the crease.
He stepped out of his feet.
Because
But
so he would be-
we've had this conversation multiple times, and I'll just bring in the rest of the panel. But Vinay, we've had this conversation back when Mohammad Azharuddin was captain of India. That was a particular team that was very good at winning quarters and semis and losing finals. So this is very, they would win something and feel really good about themselves, and then completely crash and burn when it really mattered.
Yes, because either hubris sets in or overconfidence. There's only
Yes.
one of the two that leads you to lose the most critical match.
All right, let me just, we also have with us right now Malvika Avinash of the BJP, Vandana Singh of the SP, Qurban Ali and, and Rajesh Sundaram. Opening this up to all of you, also to Mr. Narayan, if you can hear us better now, opening this up to everybody on the poll of polls, on what all of the polls are saying collectively and where it finally settles. Question to Malvika Avinash of the BJP. Is this purely a victory for the Prime Minister, Ms. Avinash, or does the BJP see this as a victory of the Karyakarta and the RSS worker on the ground who've been doing the door-to-door campaigning?
Let me begin by saying that we are indeed delighted that all of the exit polls are reflecting what our confidence has been over the last few days, and we do expect the same on May 23rd. This having been said, they are still exit polls. Let's wait for May 23rd, where I think even the exit polls may be startled at the kind of mandate, the mammoth mandate the people of India decide to give Narendra Modi and the NDA government for it to come back. Let me say that our Prime Minister is our tallest leader, and we are very proud of the fact that he indeed led the campaign, and wherever he went, as an incumbent Prime Minister, perhaps He is one of the very few, or perhaps the only one who's received the kind of rousing reception he has. Now, that having been said, it also combines with the kind of work that he has done in the last 5 years, the deliverance in terms of fighting against corruption that dogged the nation for 10 years of the UPA government. In 2014, the nation really looked not very good, and the whole world thought that we were the most corrupt nation. So when it comes to fighting corruption, when it comes to internal security, when it comes to the nation's pride, and of course, most important, development and development for all, I think he has delivered on all counts, and therefore, it deservingly returns to power with a mammoth majority.
Let's be completely honest here, if I may. I've spent the better part of the last 2 years, or we have on this channel, actually measuring all of those things that Malvika Avinash was talking about, the development for all, the jobs, the farmer distress that we mentioned in the past. This is not really a referendum on all of that, is it?
Nor is it on all the chaps who fled the country with loot.
With all of the money and all of it. We could go on. I mean, Vivek has been part of those shows as well. We could go on and on refuting every single point. But that would be a waste of this panel's time. This is not about fighting corruption. This is about that one individual and what he means to the country.
Modi has turned out to be that person that the nation trusts. I think you have to give it to him.
That's a different issue.
As much as you may not be in agreement with the opinion of the entire nation, or the voters of this country, or their wisdom, you have to give it to their wisdom too, right?
It's amazing how members of the BJP will take anything personally. But my point is that is this a referendum on Mr. Modi personally, and not the performance of the government? Was my point.
No, look, let me say it very differently. I think, and I'm blaming ourselves as well for it. I think the media and a large section of our professional, we tend to overestimate sometimes the criticality of an issue in the voting preference of an individual. I think there is a difference between the two. There is a much smaller percentage of India which actually votes for issues. People don't. Majority of India doesn't exactly vote for the issues that agitate us.
Yes.
And this has now been repeated in state after state, in election after election, where the real issue is very different. It's not just about the BJP. Even in previous governments, there have been issues, yet another party has won. The second thing is, look, the minute a party wins a mandate, you can't question their positioning. Then they will obviously say, well, oh, this is a mandate on everything we've done, including maybe divisive politics. Divisive politics has given you dividends. You can then claim referendum on that too. There's no way you can counter that because the arithmetic is on their side. But the fact of the matter is we do overestimate. Very small number of people actually vote for issues. Voting still happens on many other reasons, and that's where the rest of the India is very different from where we live.
Yes, Mr. Rath, I must also tell you that Chanakya gives the NDA at this point 350.
Can I?
Wow.
So, and that's a number that's...
Someone saying
350.
Yeah, is that Mr. Narayan?
Can I make a request, Faith?
Okay. All right, one by one to the guests who haven't spoken. Qurban Ali first. One second.
I think
and I would like to,
no, all right, Mr. Qurban Ali first, and then Mr. Narayan, because Mr. Ali hasn't spoken yet. Mr. Ali, go ahead.
and I also make a request to you that if you could be little generous to your long distance guests in Noida studio,
I apologize.
because we are also watching for half an hour.
I apologize.
No, it's all right. Fine, yes. Thank you. To me, this mandate, which if it translates into the results, I would say that this is the election in which Gandhi has been defeated and Godse has won the election. This is the first message of this election, and this election was purely on polarization and on communal lines. And I am saying it all along in last 7 phases whenever we discuss that there was a strong undercurrent, and this was after the post-Balakot narrative, and which has somehow even turned the Dalits and the backward also in the favor of BJP. In the morning, we were discussing, and Vinay will confirm it, that when we were talking about Priyanka Gandhi and her presence in Uttar Pradesh, that I have said it, that it was a casualty on the part of Congress, and she was a non-starter. Having said that, the BJP is still, barring Karnataka down to Narmada, has no presence in southern India. And in North India also, they have got numbers, but they are not in a position to say that it was a positive vote on the policies of the NDA government for last 5 years, and it was purely a vote for a government, incumbent government. So that's all I want to make it.
Well, that's a very good point. We also have Vandana Singh of the SP. Vandana ji, do you believe that the Congress party actually cut the votes away from the SP, BSP? Did Rahul Gandhi do more damage than good to the non-BJP parties of UP?
I don't think so. I don't think, I mean, Congress is fighting its own battle. I don't think it has made much of a difference to our vote bank. If you remember 2014, people had voted across the caste. This time they have voted along the caste line. I mean, if you're talking about Amit Shah ji and Modi ji, they have met their match in Uttar Pradesh, in Akhilesh Yadav ji and Mayawati ji, the most powerful alliance. And UP is the one which has blocked them completely. And I don't believe in this exit poll, as one of our panelists was saying. In Australia, they went horribly wrong. So let's wait till 23rd. Let's come back to this Hindi heartland. Let's talk about Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh.
I'd like to
Even if Congress does very badly and Modi ji does extremely well, they can't, let me finish, it's my turn, please. They cannot cross more than 25 to 30 seats. Modi ji's image of larger than life is gone. So I don't know from where these numbers are coming. I fail to understand. Let's talk about Maharashtra, where you are living. The amount of farmers who have committed suicide, it has doubled and tripled. And then you're giving a complete sweep to BJP in Maharashtra? I mean, it's beyond me. It's really hard to digest all these numbers, what they're showing. It will be very clear on 23rd, and then we'll see.
I understand the sentiment of the opposition at this point, the fact that they're trying to make sense of it. But the truth is, and every member of the opposition has come up and said, where are these numbers coming from? Now, if we couldn't, all of these various organizations wouldn't cook up similar numbers. So there is, you know, if we take
Ms. D'Souza, politics moves in a flux.
Well,
no, hang on.
Can I come in?
One second, Vandana ji. Look, I'll tell you something. I'm astounded by the selective political naivety that every party shows. On the day of exit poll, every party becomes selectively naive about Indian politics and elections. I'll give you an example. Lalu Yadav ruled Bihar for 15 years. It wasn't the most developed, so they weren't voting for his development agenda at all, right? They weren't voting because the roads were great and the electricity was coming. It was a terrible state, most backward. Yet he kept winning. Winning and losing has nothing to do with issues on the ground. So my point is, yes, Maharashtra may have agrarian distress, but that's not what they were voting for. It's very obvious.
So basically, this is what various politicians have said to us. The vote not in any way says that there is no agricultural distress or there is agricultural distress. This is not a vote about agricultural distress.
But all this?
Yes, one second. Mr. Narayan wants to come in. Mr. Narayan, go ahead.
May I get a word here? Since you're discussing agricultural distress, Karnataka is suffering from a water shortage, the severest in many years. May I come in?
No, one second. Mr. Narayan,
I think
please.
I need to barge in other people's time.
No.
Okay. There are two things. As other panelists said, and I tried to tell you earlier, I don't think the exit poll reflects from what I could see in Tamil Nadu, number one. But having said that, if the exit polls do become true, one thing is clear, as somebody suggested, it's not an issue. I think people vote by their heart, not by their brain. I believe that. Now, the divisive and, it's easy to kindle hatred to someone and make it burn compared to thinking about where is the next month's food or where is my job. Now I want to kill the other guy. So I think, yes, BJP, assuming this does get to be true, I will say that the divisive politics, the way the Hindutva versus Hindi and Hindustan has won, and that's what my conclusion will be, that you don't have to do the development, you do not have to create jobs, you will be able to manage headlines and be able to win. And that's the thing that I will learn from this. But I hope this does not happen. I think 23rd will show a different light. But if this exit polls were to be true, that's the conclusion I will draw. As far as the party, Congress party, I think it has done well. But the point is that when a BJP can come from 2 and can capture the government, and even repeatedly assuming whatever exit polls are true, it's not that far off that Congress can come back too. It'll be very interesting to see how this true election comes out, and then we'll talk about it in detail.
Okay.
Well, that's interesting. We also have Rajesh Sundaram. Rajesh, do you agree with Mr. Narayan's view on south of India that basically the exit poll might be off at this point entirely? Because you've been tracking Tamil Nadu as well.
See, the 2 seats for the BJP, a lot of analysts I have spoken with and interacted with, also, with the inputs that I'm getting from the ground, seems improbable. Also, there's a lot of anti-incumbency against the ADMK there, and for them to get 7 seats is a phenomenal performance if it is true. Also, I think the DMK Congress, they were expected to get a lion's share of the seats which they have. But of course, there are these 2 elements, and there's something on the ground which many analysts haven't picked up, if this is true, especially the 2 seats to the BJP in Tamil Nadu and the 7 seats that go there. Of course, it was expected that it won't be a clean sweep by the DMK Congress there. The ADMK, it was expected there was a lot of money at play, and they would be able to get a few seats, but 7, that's something that has has surprised a lot of analysts. And if this is true, there's something on the ground which is brewing about the BJP and the alliance there, for them to get these 8 seats.
Either that or people are cheating the exit polls
in Tamil Nadu.
People are cheating the exit polls. Okay, so
no, people may not want to divulge what has really happened.
Okay, so Mr. Narayan says that, okay, so maybe you think people are lying to the surveyors and saying that, okay, this is not the real person I voted for. I do want to ask this question.
Well,
Madhya Pradesh, which we haven't looked at up till now, if you just pop Madhya Pradesh on the screen, it's a total seat of 29, of which the poll shows that the BJP will win 24. Anyone on the panel wants to guess which way Bhopal would have gone? The Congress has 5, and we don't know if that 5 includes Mr. Digvijay Singh.
It's a foregone conclusion.
Qurban Ali is taking a conclusion.
Not to Gandhi.
How is foregone conclusion in whose favor, Mr. Ali?
It's a foregone conclusion. We are having Pragya Singh Thakur, and she was defaming father of nation like anything. And we have not seen any action from the BJP and from the Prime Minister. Prime Minister we have learned that he was very sad, and he is not going to forgive her for this comment. But we have, yes, and the Election Commission, yes. But so you are talking about the Bhopal, so it's a foregone conclusion. The father of nation has been defeated, and Nathuram Godse has won this election.
But Digvijay Singh and Pragya Thakur, which one do you think has won?
Look, I don't know who's won or lost, but for once I will disagree with Qurban.
You won't lose your heart.
For the simple reason that I don't think that we should make the same mistake that politicians make of reducing every electoral victory to a binary of whether Godse has won or Gandhi has lost.
Yes.
This could be, this Pragya Thakur
Also,
being Pragya Thakur.
Also, let's remember that the statement made by Pragya Thakur with respect to Godse was after Bhopal had voted.
It had voted, so it had no impact on the way people voted.
On the way people
exactly. So
Vinay, Amit Shah is saying she is the mascot of Hindutva.
Agreed. No, agreed.
Amit Shah has said in his press conference.
In fact, not only did he say that, he said in his press conference that her candidature was a satyagraha.
That was the whole message.
He used that word. It was a satyagraha against a particular brand of politics. No, I concede that. But that fits in large with the larger narrative.
I think I need to come in now.
Okay, Also, I want to point out.
I think I need to come in now. You have to be
don't
fair
get
to me.
angry. I mean, I don't know why, even on a good day, BJP spokespersons
No, but I
don't
also
have
want
to
to
get
point out
angry. It's fine,
that
man.
when
We're
that
not
statement was
criticizing you.
made, 6/7 of
No,
the
but
country
I've
had
been
already,
seeking
6 phases
time
were
for the last
already
15
done.
minutes.
Okay, all
All
right.
kinds of allegations
Yeah,
have been
but
coming
today it's
my
a
way.
day
I
to
should be
smile
allowed
and laugh,
to respond,
man.
sir.
It's not a day to get
It's
angry.
only fair.
It's a good day for you. Why you should be
I've
happy.
been laughing all day, sir. I
Malvika
shall
Avinash
be
avare
till the 23rd and after too.
ಯಾತಕ್ ದಬಾಯಿಸ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ ಒಂದು ನಿಮಿಷ ನಾನು ಬರ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀನಿ ನೀವು ಹೇಳಿ what are you upset about?
I'm not upset at all. There have been so many things said. I should be allowed to respond, that's all. If you don't want me to respond, fair enough, go ahead. Let it be a one-way street.
Okay, all right. Then we will move on then in that case. And so to that question of Madhya Pradesh, does the Madhya Pradesh number surprise anyone? Because, you know, there was that whole talk about the Madhya Pradesh polling. We didn't talk about the state. The fact that the Congress did better in the assembly elections, but it's not reflecting on
No, I mean, look,
on the assembly.
for all those who were trying to transport the assembly victory onto Lok Sabha, we're making a fundamental mistake, because I think we've made this point repeatedly on Mirror now, that the vote share gap between BJP and Congress was barely 1%. So there was no way the Congress will get a handsome number of seats. Of course, the BJP would have done better, especially with Modi's factor coming in.
This reflects more than just that.
But yes, exactly. So I was about to come to that. That this quantum of this actually reflects more than that. That it is not just about the vote share gap, but it's also something more, and possibly it's the Modi factor, because that's made the big difference between people voting for an assembly and for the national elections.
So Aishwarya Mahadev, when it comes to, and I know you're joining us out of Delhi right now, but when it comes to Madhya Pradesh and everything that Mr. Kamal Nath has done in the last couple of months since he became Chief Minister, doesn't seem to have, if we go on the disclaimer that if we go by the exit polls, it does seem like what he's done has not translated to too much for the Lok Sabha polls for the Congress. Could there have been a miscalculation there?
I think first and foremost that all exit polls are not truly representative of what the final results are going to be. And looking at the number of voters in the country, Faye, I think that, sir, I did not interrupt. Please let me complete.
No
The
one's
fact of the
interrupting
matter
you.
is when you look at the number and the samples and whether it's the poll of polls or whatnot, there's always a margin of error. There's always a margin of error that we've seen, irrespective of the polls. I think what Mr. Kamal Nath has done, especially because you unseated a government that was there for so many terms, if I'm not wrong, and what has happened is work has been going on. There is a lot that has been happening, and I think it's very pessimistic, the numbers that are coming out, because on the ground, having seen the reports of what is happening in Madhya Pradesh, they've really rallied. And I think that, you know, whether it's Mr. Digvijay Singh's seat or whether it's Mr. Kamal Nath and the way that they handle the campaign, I think we're expected to do far better than what is being put out here. Because I think that, you know, look at the numbers you get out of poll everywhere, Faye. It's almost like saying that anti-incumbency is a factor which statistically is 40 to 60% existent in every incumbent government going to the polls, doesn't seem to exist at all. And I think that there is a skew. And I think that's two things. One could be confirmation bias, and the second is a silent voter. And a lot of people have been saying, the senior analysts, people on the ground, they say, you know, either the voters are silent because of fear, or they just do not want to reveal what it is.
Okay,
So, but
fair enough.
we're still
Let me-
hopeful on the 23rd. I don't think.
Okay, let me
anything
just take
lost
what you've
yet or
said
anything
to
has
our
been
panel.
caused.
What fear? Who do they fear?
Okay, Malvika
Who do
Avinash,
they
I'll give you a
fear?
chance to rebut and then I'll take this to the panel. Go ahead.
No, this whole defeatist mentality, I don't know for what. These are exit polls. Please, let's all wait for May 23rd. There's no need for all the Modi versus parties to feel this down and, you know, to be shooting the messenger, which happens to be the surveyor in this case. I think they should also take a breath and wait for May 23rd, where there will be a greater surprise for them, where we will get a bigger mandate than what is being predicted. That having been said, I heard multiple issues being discussed. I don't think I can respond to all of them because I have not made a note of everything that was said. But there was something particularly said about Sadhvi Pragya. I think BJP took note and of what she had said and took objection to it, and she not only retracted and apologized. Subsequently, she has been summoned before a disciplinary committee and suitable action will be taken. So, you know, for everyone to just make sweeping comments about the voter not having wisdom at all is rather unfortunate.
Well, as far as the action that the BJP is taking against Pragya Thakur, it hasn't been taken yet. That's on record. When it is taken, we will report that such action has been taken. But I won't let that derail the conversation we're having today. Nielsen has changed its numbers.
Summoning before the disciplinary committee is the first step of the action.
Well, to be fair, Malvika, Avinash, Supreme Court makes decisions faster than your disciplinary committee. And I don't understand why the disciplinary committee needs to investigate for over 2 weeks on a comment that seems fairly obvious and seems like an open and shut case. What are they deliberating? I don't understand.
Ma'am, we follow procedure in our party. We do what the party does always.
Okay, that's fair enough then. That's up to you.
I don't think we will be taking your advice on this. The party has a method of dealing with these things.
I don't recall giving advice, Ms. Avinash. All right, Nielsen has changed its numbers. It has now upgraded the NDA to 277. It was at 265. Vivek, that was the outlier that we were talking about.
Yeah.
So NDA now at 277, UPA at 130, and the others at 35. So that's Nielsen has changed its numbers. Do you want to, does this change your calculation as well, Vivek? Not really, not really. Just for our audience who's trying to understand and to respond to both members of opposition, Ms. Singh, who was from the SP, who was speaking earlier, and now Aishwarya Madhav of the Congress, who keep telling us that, you know, don't take these numbers too seriously, or, you know, they're all perhaps fudging at the same level. Is it now?
I mean, I wouldn't buy something as extreme as that. But, you know, as I said an hour, 1 hour back, given the fact that, you know, in the last 5 years, a lot of channels have become mouthpieces for the government. So you need to discount a little, some 15-20% for that. But all in all, I mean, it wouldn't be like, I don't think they'll get the trend wrong. I mean, they might get the numbers wrong. But
okay, so you say it might not be as resounding at say 300 or 335.
I mean, I
but
really
it will
don't
still
buy
be a
any
win.
of these 350, and there are guys who have even given 365.
365,
right?
yes. Access is
so
given 365.
I really don't buy that, but I think, I mean, if you sort of do the right discounting, it should, the BJP with a few allies should get there. The NDA with a few allies.
Now, Mr. Kaul, what you are saying, I fail to understand. The logic defeats me in this. That okay, at the time of campaigning, perhaps some channels or all channels are pro-government, pro-establishment. That I take that for argument's sake.
Yes.
Now that election is over, and this is exit poll, and after 4 days, the result is coming. At that time, why should anybody champion for the ruling party? Because they will fall flat on their face, and not the government or the government side.
Yes. You're saying anyone who puts out a poll that can be doubted will effectively be betting their own credibility,
that has
which is
happened
not
across
worth it.
state assembly polls. So it's not something that
So I
bothers
think the point that
channels.
you're making is, if as an audience member watching at home right now, you feel that these numbers are too much, discount them by 10-15%, and you'll still find that the BJP is winning. Right. That's the point you're making. That, if you feel for whatever reason that is being misrepresented for anything, bring in a 10% discount, and you will still see that the BJP is still leading. Right?
No, look, in my entire professional living memory and my life, I have never seen a losing party except an exit poll number.
Yes.
No matter which party.
Yes.
You probably
Even the final result. Even the final result. I have seen people, parties,
they keep
don't accept.
Till the EC hands over the certificate to the candidates probably. So
And,
no losing
and
party.
the EVMs better prepare themselves for some emotional athyachar as well.
I agree with Vivek completely. I mean, you may quibble over numbers, but the fact is that 8 or 9 exit polls can't get the direction wrong. The direction is very clear. The people have voted in favor of the NDA alliance, which is at a pole position currently. Yes, you may have a difference of 10 to 15 seats here and there, but that's hardly going to make any difference, because once a party or alliance is in such a pole position, the rest is all very easily magnetic, and it doesn't really make much difference to the outcome.
Rajesh?
Sorry, I was saying right from beginning that once BJP, or for that matter any other party, once they cross the mark of 250,
yes,
then they have every right to form the government.
Yes.
If not majority government, at least a minority government.
And it's at the end of the day the basic law of gravity, right? When you cross 250, you become big enough to attract all of the other small players who want to be part of that power play.
The moment you get invited, irrespective of whether you have 250 or not.
Immediately people start to gravitate towards the largest party. Rajesh wanted to come in. Rajesh, go ahead.
No, I think the next step would be at the Rashtrapati Bhavan, and he would invite, as per convention, the single largest party, and like you said, then it will be magnetic from there. So yeah, clearly agree with what most of the panelists are saying.
Yes, and I just want to give everybody an opportunity to make statements before we close the show. Mr. Narayan, you don't agree? Go ahead, please.
Well, I would like to come in. Well, the point is that it's not only that they have the advantage of the money, but they have the advantage of power. And there is history in the last 5 years, they have used constitutional powers to even bring in when they are far away by not like Goa. So the opposition's party have to be careful. So with this kind of thing and exit poll showing this, I think it's a clear advantage to the ruling dispensation today. People have voted with the heart, not with the brain.
No, I again get astounded by the continuity of logic. I agree with Mr. Amarkai Narayanan that they are the party in power. But then the Congress in the end, UP was in power in 2014. You were in power. This is a continuing process. Somebody will be in power when you have a fresh election, right? Yes. I mean, how does that matter? Are you saying that because of the power they've got the elections?
No, UPA has not. Please let me come in. UPA has not violated so certain rules. Pranab Mukherjee was following the rules. Even prior to that, presidents have followed the rules.
No, but hang on, the president hasn't done anything.
The president hasn't come into the picture.
They flout the rules.
What's Mr. Kovind done as of now?
No, that might be unfair, Mr. Narayan, because Mr. Kovind hasn't even been brought into question so far. We don't even have results. So I think that might be jumping the gun a little bit. But Vivek,
yes. I have not talked about the president. I said the constitutional authority by the BJP has violated the law and the precedents with impunity, number one. And the election commission in this particular case have not taken cognizance of certain things that they should have done.
Correct.
And that will come up. But I just have one thing to put out. Mr. Narayan, one second. I understand what you're saying. I understand what you're saying. I just have one thing to put out now, especially the Congress and member after the BJP who've been on the channel since 6 o'clock this evening have complained that, but there's drought and there's farmer crisis, job crisis, how come? Maybe the opposition completely failed to carry that message down to the voter. Yes. You failed to pass on whatever message you had. Yes. The BJP, on the other hand, passed on its message clearly and efficiently. So it's not a question of, but there is so much going on. Why are people voting with their hearts instead of their heads? Because you didn't communicate with them efficiently.
Vote for who they vote for. Yes. Now, at the end of it, saying they voted with their hearts and not their minds is an extremely stupid thing to say.
Right. Mr. Rao?
No, perhaps I would sound a bit cynic.
Why?
But cynical. But I have been observing elections, every election from 1977. In 71 election, I was a schoolboy. Yes. But after that, I have been monitoring elections. Since then, there has been problem of joblessness, unemployment. There has been problem of drought, farmers' plight. There has been problem of industrial disputes. Everything has been happening since then. My only fear, rather to my dismay, is that these problems which are perennially there, perhaps they don't have elective merit.
Yes.
Yes. People don't go for that. Yes, they don't have decisive power.
May I ask one question to your cephalogist?
Yeah.
Go ahead. But
not a cephalogist.
We don't. Let's appoint Vivek.
Everyone's a cephalogist these days.
Everyone's a cephalogist. Well, as a disclaimer, Kurban, we don't have a cephalogist. But go ahead, ask your question.
Okay, no, I just want to understand what would be the poll share, percentage of votes for BJP and the rest of the parties. Any idea?
That we'll have to, let me just have a, no, I don't think they've given us an all India number.
No, we don't have, do we have an all India vote share number? I don't believe we have that.
No.
No, we don't
have. So there are state-wise number that I have here, but
let me just check and see if my team has it and if they can put it up on the screen.
One back of the envelope, we haven't done it in the studio because we are here, but some people who've done a back of the envelope actually suggest that the vote share has gone up.
In Madhya Pradesh,
that the BJP's vote share has gone up?
That's the back of the envelope. We still have to do a deep dive on it. I just wanted to add one small point.
I just want to know that whether it is more than 50%
no,
or
of
less
course not.
than it.
It's not more than 50.
Can
No,
anybody give
but
this
Mr. Ali,
idea?
Mr. Ali, you started off this conversation saying that you believe that, you know, statements that were made by Pragya Thakur should have been, you were hoping that the voters would take those more seriously. Would you say the opposition, led by the Congress, has failed in its communication, in its strategy, in its planning, in its campaigning, in its handling of the media, in its handling of social media? The Congress woke up late to all of these things and still didn't catch up fast enough.
Absolutely, I fully agree with you, Faye. And this is a total failure on the part of the main opposition party, the Indian Congress, and its leader Rahul Gandhi. He was, you know, sometime as if he was doing kite flying, and he has no adjustment of seats with the other parties. We have seen in Delhi that they have given 7 seats BJP in a platter. You know, if they would have an alliance with the Aam Aadmi Party, the situation would have been different. And the same is in UP and in Bihar. I mean, in Bihar, they were having an alliance with RJD, but in West Bengal, in UP, and in other part also, in Madhya Pradesh, they were determined not to have an alliance with BSP, and same was the case in Rajasthan. So, he has miserably failed, Rahul Gandhi. And he has, I mean, he was trying to make this election on the plank of Rafale, which was a total
on the screen right now is the vote share you asked for. This is the total vote share. So 2019, it gives the NDA, unfortunately I don't have a BJP cut, it gives the NDA 41.1% and the UPA 31.7%. So they've both improved their vote share.
The others have gone down.
The others have gone down,
Basically,
yes.
the Congress hasn't improved its vote share as much as it should have. So
as much as it could have. Yeah, as much as it could have.
No, just to add to the messaging point, I'll give an example. Mr. Rahul Gandhi announced with great fanfare, and perhaps rightly so, the Nyaya scheme, for instance. There were 2 big ideas in the manifesto. One was the Nyaya scheme, the other was a separate manifesto of farmers. Poll after poll has suggested that the awareness level of both these schemes was incredibly low.
Yes.
Their candidates were not talking about it. There was no concern. BJP sells things that sometimes don't even exist. Congress is unable to sell things which exist on their document.
In fact, we were talking about this as usual off screen, and that is nothing could have stopped either Kamal Nath or Ashok Gehlot or Baghel from implementing this Nyaya scheme in their states.
Yes.
And then that would have been and long ago, you know. Let's say.
So, gentlemen, just one second. On the screen right now, state-wise vote share splits. If we can see them fast enough, this is Uttar Pradesh, where the BJP has 44.8% of the vote share. The SP-BSP has 40%. Now, you'll remember, Vinay, the previous calculation showed that an SP-BSP combined would have actually had more than the BJP.
Yes, and I think that brings back to the point that we were making earlier in the afternoon today, that in Uttar Pradesh, much like perhaps other parts of the country, the polarization has taken a new shape, which is it's not just about religious polarization, but it's a polarization on the name of Mr. Modi. So either you're with him or you're against him, and that has slightly blunted the caste-based voting.
The West Bengal, the BJP has 31% vote share. That's double what it had last time. The TMC has stayed steady almost,
the BJP is doubled.
Actually it's the left that has lost out. The left has lost out drastically.
13%.
But the BJP would consider this a massive
this ties in because, you know, in Bengal, most people are saying that the left cadre itself has kind of moved over to the BJP, and the CPM is actually silently helping the BJP. A lot of people believe
in fact,
that they're doing it for 2 brands.
I mean, if we were to go by this poll, the communists do not get any seats in Bengal, so which is like a new low.
The exit says only 1. So
no, it doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. It says it doesn't give them any seat. If you add.
Yeah, I thought they gave them 1, but
31, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. 29, 2 and 11, no.
So on that note of whether or not India voted with its heart or with its head, the truth is India voted. And India gave us a verdict, or so we'd like to believe. I was about to put this out there. This is the exit poll. This is the Times Now VMR exit poll. But what we're going to go with on your screen at this point is the poll of polls. So this is what all of the polls are saying today. If you just take the direction, so I'm going to go back to where we started from at 6 o'clock, which is that this is an exit poll. This is, each of these polls have picked sample sizes and they extrapolate what the sample says to the entire country. This is obviously not polled every voter in the country. So all you should take away from these polls is the general direction and not the hard number. Now, if you look at the general direction of all of the polls, they're all fairly clear. The general direction says Mr. Narendra Modi and his party members and his allies together will form the next government. Will they form the government with a large and comfortable margin, or will they form the government needing maybe an ally or two? We don't know yet. But the truth is they will form the government, and they will do so from what we see. If we set aside the outliers, and A.B. Nielsen has also corrected from 265 to now 277, it looks that they will form the government comfortably and without any sort of stress. So this is what the polls are saying. The real results will be out on the 23rd. Trickle in numbers begin at about 8 o'clock, but we'll be here much, much earlier than that. Big questions and introspection for Rahul Gandhi and company. They failed again. Or at least we'll find out by how much on the 23rd. Stay with Mirror now. Good night.